and welcome back to the Dawn Show. Again, live and local. Even though we're local, we're talking to some very special doctors who travel to a third world country to reach out and make a huge change in a community there, to families, especially children. But sometimes, as you know, when you give so much of yourself, you get the real gift, and that's what Drs. Charles Morelli and Dr. Jeffrey Siegel, both surgeons, foot surgeons, podiatric surgeons, have been telling us. So welcome, Dr. Jeff.
Thank you very much for having me.
So how did you two meet? And tell me about the connection with Nicaragua. I mean, you're both local guys, and then you end up meeting and.
Right. Sure. Well, mission trips is something that I've always wanted to be involved with, but it's one of those things where God presents to you an opportunity when God's ready. And in the meantime, you just have to be patient. And so I waited, 20 years, really. And Dr. Morelli had posted something online. I happened to be looking at it. I saw it. It piqued my interest, and I responded. And he sent me back an email, says, "Good, you want to go? Great, give me $500." And I was like, "What?" So what's the first thing you would think of, right? Scam, right? So I did some research, and it turns out it was all legitimate. He was the president of the Medical Society in Westchester County in New York, and it was all legit. And the money really was just for deposits because the church books the trip as a group, and as such, they needed the money because they were on a deadline, and that's what that was all about. So since that time, it's been a great relationship.
What's interesting is, you're both surgeons, but you talk about this calling,
right?
And that this is faith-based. This is something that you feel you were called to do and that was meant to do. And it's an extraordinary story,
right, in
a sense, that you're called and to go around the world. And talk to me about that.
Well, for me, it's all about God. This is why I'm here, and I'm to be a maximum service, and he gets all the credit, and we all have gifts, every one of us, and it's our job to identify what they are and use them, and that's what I try to do in my life and in my home and what I do. And so, what better way, and this is a great opportunity to exercise that option that we were given, and so I go for feet, I go for kids. Get my kids fixed and try to help as many as possible. That's why I primarily go.
When did you figure that out? Dr. Morelli, at what point did you feel or have you always, since you were a child, have you had a deep faith, or what was your journey that brought you into this calling?
I had not a deep faith when I was younger, and even in my 20s and 30s. And it wasn't until I got married and had children and then started getting involved with the Methodist Church in Mamaroneck up in Westchester County that it became stronger. And then when getting involved with this mission trip, and I go back and forth, my beliefs, my
faith is a journey.
My faith is a journey, but whenever I go back to Nicaragua, it gets so much more strong. It gets stronger and strengthened. And I find myself getting back closer to church and closer to God and closer to the things that we do. And I just, with each passing year, I feel closer. And, you say that we give so much. And I feel so selfish when you say that, because I know that we get so much from it. Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's a cliche, that it's a line that you give, but man, I'm telling you, you come back and we're on a high for months, if not the entire year, and we're so exhausted after the trip. We're like, can we do this again? But we can't not do it again. And again, mostly for selfish reasons, because we get so much out of it and so much enjoyment. And then when we get down there, it's the giving to, Dr. Siegel, Jeffrey loves the kids. He does a lot of pediatric surgery. I do more adults and some children. But it's such a satisfying journey, and to be able to use our skills and our talents to help the people that we help is remarkably rewarding.
And for you, Dr. Siegel, were you always a person of faith since you were a small child, or was this something that evolved for you?
Oh, when I grew up, I was very selfish, and it was all about me. And some things happened, a number of years ago that required me to make a change in my attitude and change in my belief system. And it was much more for much more significant reason. And and it's better. It's
And
a
as
better way
we-
of living. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the pictures and just the smiles of people who, probably were terrified when they came in. And I imagine that you give many of these kids, you give them hope, and you give them a stuffed animal, and you give them a new outlook on life, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. It is life changing. Dr. Murley mentioned that they don't realize we're getting much more than they receive. They may get a new body part and they may be able to fit into their community and run and play, and that's great. But they don't realize how much more we're getting. It's incredible.
It's wonderful.
You know.
Well, when we come right back, you talked about faith, and this is about family too. So we're
Sure.
going to meet your daughter and your wife when we come right back.
Okay,
Dr.
great.
Siegel and Dr. Morelli, thank you. Is this inspiring or what? We'll be right back here on The Dawn Show.